Welcome friends to a review on the Corvette Z06, but this is also going to be a comparison with the 991.2 GT3. So special thank you to HBi Auto for this very special opportunity. This dealership is located in Mocksville, North Carolina. They are able to do nationwide shipping, and you can purchase these vehicles 100% online if you wish. They also have a very legitimate service center that can service all sorts of exotics. They are also Porsche specialists, and they even have a certified XPEL PPF center as well. So a lot of great things going on here. I will have HBi Auto's website in the description box below. But for right now, let's get started. We're going to start with the Z06. This is a special car. It's the 70th anniversary. This vehicle, it's got the 5.5 liter flat plane crank V8 engine, naturally aspirated with 670 horsepower and 460 pounds-feet of torque. Let's go ahead and let's get this out on the road. All right, so right off the bat, this vehicle, it's very loud and it's a very sonorous experience, but even in everyday driving, this car is so comfortable. I'm shocked by that, but granted, this does not have the Z07 package. So stepping on it. Yeah, this car, it is ballistically quick as one would expect. It's really overkill for the road, honestly. So is the GT3. I mean, I've only driven that car out on the track, but one could imagine, right? What most people are going to be shocked by is just how livable this package is. The 3LZ convertible weighs about 3,700 pounds, which is a little over 100 pounds more than the regular coupe. The GT3 weighs a little over 3,100 pounds. But really, the chassis of this car, it's so perfect, and this car is so razor sharp. Out on the street, it's really not a big deal. The additional curb weight, and 3,700 pounds in this day and age, it's relatively light for everything that's going on here. You know, you have an interior that's slathered with leather and Alcantara, and we still have all the, kind of sound deadening materials here as well. And surprisingly, we don't even have any crazy tire noise going on with this machine. So a lot of that has to do with the fact we don't have the insane Cup 2 tires, which is optional with the Z07 vehicles. If you were to track this car, I would certainly recommend the Z07 package. Out on the street, not really necessary. In fact, I would even skip it if you're not doing any track driving. Brakes are amazing, as one would expect. So yes, the engine does sound amazing, but the GM engineers, they did something interesting at the top end of this vehicle. There is actually some fake engine sounds being pumped through, only at the higher RPM range, and that's to smoothen out some of the buzziness that this engine produces at the top end. Really, I don't care. This thing sounds so sonorous. It's actually sad that Ferrari stopped, with the 458 and the NA engine that they had to offer so quickly. Especially, that was like over 10 years ago, and here GM is out here with this Z06. They really made an epic machine here after all these years. And it's a huge difference between this and the Stingray. Stingray is such a tame, modest vehicle to drive. It's a great GT car, and it puts down great numbers on paper, but in the real world, when you're actually experiencing these cars, this is the true razor sharp experience. All right, so now I have this vehicle in its Z mode. Yeah, you can immediately feel everything open up, and the engine gets even louder, if you can believe that. Honestly, this is the type of car that you don't need like any crazy modifications. It just comes nuts from the factory, and it's just perfectly dialed in. Now, one thing that some people complain about is the steering rack. They say that it's lifeless, it's dead, but the reality is it's perfectly weighted. Even in the Z mode, it gets slightly more heavy. But really, because the chassis is so communicative, you always know what this monster of a car is doing. That's really all I care about. As long as I have a communicative car that lets me know what the front end and the rear end is doing, I'm happy. And at least the steering, it's not like some of the new BMW stuff where it's just over boosted, overweighted for no reason. And those steering racks in the new Beamers, they don't even provide any real feedback. This is 1,000 times better than that. All right, so I'll just send it one more time. And here's the thing, you know, a lot of people, they can be a bit obtuse. They're like, oh, what are you going to do with these cars out on the road? But the reality is, you don't need to use all of this all the time. When you're just dailying it, you just enjoy the creature comforts that these vehicles have to offer. And then once you turn onto a back road, then you can do your thing, of course, responsibly, right? And of course, like I mentioned before, if you're going to drive this hard, get the Z07 package if you're going to track it. So surprisingly livable package. I'd be curious to see how the GT3 stacks up out on the road. So let's go ahead and let's hop into that vehicle now. Alright, so we have here the 4-liter flat 6, 500 horsepower, 339 pounds-feet of torque. From the factory, I think Porsche claims 0 to 60 on the PDK cars is 3.2 seconds. The Vette, they claim like 2.6, but I'm sure we can all agree these cars, they transcend spec sheets, and that's not really the point as to why we purchase either one of these cars. But right off the bat, similar to the Z06, I think what a lot of people are going to appreciate is just how well dampened the GT3 is. Like, yes, it's a stiff car, but the dampening is great over the road. For such a purpose-built, track-focused car, and this is a track weapon, the daily drivability of this is phenomenal. Now, compared to the Vette, you can feel the engineering and the precision coursing through your little fingertips from the steering to the overall chassis. It's very purpose-built. And with these vehicles, we do have the electric steering rack, but I would say this is maybe one notch above the Z06 in terms of steering feel. And I'll just quickly floor it here. Yeah, 9,000 RPM redline. That is insane. I mean, the Vette's not far off. It's like 8,600 RPM redline. Both are epic engines, just in different ways. Seven-speed PDK transmission. This and the Vette, I mean, they shift so quickly. It's just that I think the paddles on the GT3, they're a bit better. It just feels a bit more substantial in the GT3. To be honest, these cars, they feel pretty similar. I would say that the GT3 is slightly more noisier, but you know, I have seen people on the Porsche forums, people who actually daily drive these cars, they actually put all-season tires on these, like some Continental Extreme Context. It's going to reduce some of the road noise and all of that good stuff, and might even make these cars a bit more fun because you have slightly less grip. So I don't know, there is an extra layer of refinement that can be had with either one of these cars. But no, both cars are definitely epic. Alright, so I've turned the exhaust button on. Let's floor it. To be honest, not drastically different, but slightly louder. And this is like a 6-year-old car now at this point, and it has some miles on it, 9,600 miles. And this still feels like a brand new car to drive. Like, that's just the quality of these vehicles. They truly are some timeless products, and I also really like the way these vehicles look as well. But I'll talk more about that towards the end. But for right now, yeah, driving wise, both epic cars. They just go about their business in different ways. I will say the GT3, it feels a bit more like a glove, right? Just fits you perfectly. It's easier to see out of, easier to place out on the road. This interior space is a lot more, I guess, familiar and easy. The Z06, there's a bit more of a learning curve involved. But which one would I personally choose? I mean, to be honest, the real answer to that question is you simply just buy both. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. Like, I don't know why people say you have to just buy one car, be married to it, and keep it for the rest of your life. No, you can literally just buy one of these cars, keep it for 6 months to a year, just sell it or trade it under consignment. Like a dealership like HBi Auto, they can do that for you. You know, you just sell the car under consignment, and then you just buy the GT3 right after. And then if you like the Vette more, you just circle back to that, or vice versa. You see what I'm saying? This is why, like, even a lot of YouTubers, you see them just swapping in and out of cars like every 6 months to a year. That's because that's just what they usually do. I mean, they want to have as many experiences as possible, and vehicles like this, they don't necessarily crash in value. Now, I don't know what the future GT3 market is going to do. Hindsight is 2020. I'm just saying, though, I think you get the point and what I'm alluding to. But let's go ahead and let's park these cars and let's talk about the interior space now. All right, now that we are stopped, let's go ahead and let's talk about the interior space of both vehicles, starting with the Porsche. Despite this being the older vehicle, when you sit inside, this genuinely feels like a brand new vehicle still. The solidity of this cabin is phenomenal, along with the material choices. I love the Alcantara, the leather. Genuinely, the photos don't do it justice. This is a fine cabin to spend time in, and it's very simplistic and ergonomic. Unlike the Corvette, which is more of like that spaceship vibe, it takes a bit more getting used to. Sure, that vehicle has physical buttons and switches, which is great, but the layout of this is just much easier to get used to. Same thing with the seating position and your view out the front. It feels like a regular car to drive for the most part until you get to the back. That's where the rear visibility is a bit restricted. And of course, that spoiler, yeah, that's taking up like half of your rear window visibility as well. But overall, though, you know what I mean. This is an easy car to place out on the road, but really it's the sturdiness of this cabin that I absolutely love. And comment below, let me know your thoughts. Do you like the lava orange accents inside the cabin? I don't know, it's kind of growing on me. Sure, the black or the carbon would have looked a little bit more sleek, but this is fine. Gives the cabin some pop. Anyway, I am 5'11". It's surprisingly easy to get in and out of this vehicle, and we do have the 18-way comfort seats, and this is amazing. They genuinely are very comfortable. You have good lumbar support. You can be really tall and still fit in here, or wear a helmet, right? That shouldn't be an issue. And because this is the 2018 car, we have all the physical buttons and switches for your HVAC, for your sport modes, your exhaust, etc. And the tactility of all these buttons is amazing. The infotainment, it looks modest, but it's really quick to respond even till this day. And we have the classic analog gauges. We have the sport chrono clock, good space in the glove box, and the center armrest. That doesn't offer too much space, but your wireless charging pad is in there. And no, we do not have rear seats in the back of this vehicle, but wow, you really do have a lot of storage back there. So I know the Corvette has 2 trunks. Well, this, I would say, might be even more practical because of all of this shelf space that you have in the back. You can really fill this thing up, so that's crazy. I mean, this is really, I can't believe I'm saying this, but a great daily driver. I fit in it comfortably, it's easy to drive, you have great seats, good storage, and even the audio system isn't terrible. No, you can't get these cars with the Burmester, but even this Bose system, it's okay. It's an average system. It gets the job done. And this cabin isn't overly loud either. In fact, I forgot to mention this in the review, but this thing has the insane Cup 2 tires on it. If you just had regular summer tires on it, this vehicle would be even quieter still. It would be kicking up less rocks. So as great as the handling is and how sonorous the engine sounds, I think one really overlooked aspect of both of these cars is just how good of a daily driver it is and how refined it can be. So with that established, let's go ahead and let's hop into the Corvette, talk about the interior, then we can conclude. All right, finishing off in the Vette. Once again, the solidity of this cabin is truly epic. And I'm not exaggerating here. Even simple things like this little cup holder flap, it feels really sturdy. Well done, GM. This is a big step up from the previous Vettes in terms of interior quality. Sure, there is a bit of panel gapping, like when the door closes, there's more of a panel gap on the passenger side. But aside from that, everything else is top tier. The material choices, the leathers, the Alcantara, and some of the metal work is fantastic. I will say some of the buttons feel a bit more plasticky and generic, but even that is fine. And keep in mind, this is the 70th anniversary as well. So you're going to see some various badges, and we have a bespoke interior for the 70th anniversary, like these white leather seats, the red stitching, the red seat belts, etc. And man, these seats are also exceptionally comfortable. I would have to say it's equal between this and the Porsche. They're both great supportive seats, but I guess the Vette seats, they look a bit cooler, but that's going to be subjective. And I guess in general, this is the newer car, and this design has a bit more theater. When you sit inside of it, it has that cockpit spaceship type vibe, whereas the Porsche, it feels more like a regular car when you sit inside of it. I don't know, I certainly do appreciate both, but anyway, other things to note. So this steering wheel, I personally really like it. There's also a functional use for this. It's to give you a bit more leg room and for you to have better visibility out the front. But I do like gripping onto this Alcantara steering wheel. That feels great. And we do have carbon fiber paddle shifters along with carbon on the top and the bottom of the steering wheel. This is the 3LZ package. So this is fully loaded, and we have the top tier 14 speaker Bose audio, and this definitely blows the Porsche out the water in terms of sound quality. So again, superior audio system, better features, and it is newer. So we have things like wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto with this 8-inch touchscreen, and we also have a full digital gauge cluster. So yeah, this is technically the better daily driver from a feature standpoint, but out on the road, these cars are surprisingly similar. And yes, we do have physical buttons and switches here, but it does take some getting used to. But oh well, I'm not really complaining about that. And we don't have any rear seats in the Vette, of course, but we do have 2 trunks. But I would actually give the points to the Porsche for more practicality. But this is great too for a supercar. I mean, you do have 2 trunks here, and you can put golf clubs in the back of the Vette. And one of my most favorite features of this particular car is this is the electric convertible top. Yes, the regular coupes, you can also take the top off, but this is so much better in my opinion. And you can even put down the rear glass a little bit to hear the engine more. So all of that is amazing. And I don't really have an issue getting in and out of this vehicle either. Once again, I'm 5'11" and I still have plenty of headroom in here, but I think the Porsche offers a bit more headroom in the front, but they're both rather practical, and tall people can fit in both, so that's great. 2 things to note, however, regarding the Vette. The rear trunk, I would not put like any grocery items back there because the engine is there and things can get really hot, so I would put things like the groceries in the front trunk. And also, there is no nets for the side intake, so rocks, leaves, all that can get inside. So if I were to purchase this car, I would put some type of a net to protect the intakes. But let's go ahead and let's conclude this video. All right, concluding thoughts on the Z06 and the 991.2 GT3. Both are epic machines, as one would expect. And I was not joking, I was not being facetious in that driving segment. Seriously, the answer to which one I prefer is both. Like, you just buy one and you just keep it for 6 months to a year, trade it in or sell it under consignment, and consider getting the other one. I'm serious. Like, that's one way to look at this. Nobody has said that you have to be tied down to one specific car, but as an overall package, yeah, I guess this Vette would be superior. And out on the road, you can tell that the Vette is a bit quicker. Granted, they're both overkill for the streets, so I don't really care. Both have very sonorous engines. Like, the engines are equal between the two cars. They're just different and they go about their business in different ways. But other than that, both are epic machines. And yes, I'm fully aware the Z06, it technically competes with the 992. I know a lot of obtuse people are going to be commenting about that. But if you don't know already, the 992s on the used car market, they're trading for like $250,000. Technically, this car really competes with a .1 GT3 Porsche, which this dealership did have two of them, but they both sold. And that's a special GT3 product because it's kind of new-ish, but it's also trading for slightly under its original MSRP, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, that's really the only con about the 991.2 GT3. It's like a 6-year-old car with some mileage on it, whereas this Vette is literally brand new for the most part. It's got about 2,500 miles on it, but out on the road, man, they feel surprisingly similar to drive. Very similar ride quality and refinement. I would say the Vette is slightly quieter still because it has more sound deadening, but both are great from a daily driver standpoint. Handling is phenomenal on both. They're both razor sharp objects to drive. But yeah, that's my overall look at both of these vehicles. I love both, and if you're interested in buying either one, I'm going to have HBi Auto's information down in the description box below. Again, amazing dealership, lots of great selection here. They are primarily Porsche specialists, but they are also able to service things like Ferraris, Lambos, Rolls-Royces, etc. They even do like manual transmission swaps for the Ferrari F430, so that's pretty cool. But regarding the two cars I'm talking about in this video, this Vette, it's about $2,500 below the original MSRP. And regarding the GT3, they have about 3 of these 991.2s. One of them is a manual, so if you want that, there you go. And this dealership is able to ship nationwide. So once again, special thank you to HBi Auto, and thank you very much for watching. Take care and goodbye.